Alright girls, listen up. Here's why guys fucking hate relationships. Alright, so look, contrary to what many girls may think, that they're just out there cheating, playing you, lying. The truth is, by the way, not to say that that never happens or that can't ever happen. The fact is, most of the time, guys, we just like waiting to make sure that you're the right one for us. So even though it might be a bit more annoying, think of it as being, still better than rushing into a relationship and then ending up hurt as a consequence. If you like this tip, don't forget to follow for more. Here's why guys don't seem to want to get into relationships. Girls, listen up. Alright, so here's the thing. Guys are more logical thinkers rather than emotional thinkers like girls are. Meaning what we usually do is we just like to lean towards, logic and structure, if you will, in making the decisions we make in life. Which is exactly why some guys just like to wait a while to make sure that, you're the right one for them. But on the other hand, women are more likely to make impulse decisions based on just in-the-moment emotions, if that makes sense. Meaning, a lot of the times they could be ready for a relationship as long as just things are going decently well, even if it's incredibly early on. But sometimes that could be a mistake, because if you're rushing and things, don't work out later on, then you can end up regretting it. If you like this tip, don't forget to follow.
When I ask women about the challenges they face in dating, the most common response is that they have no trouble attracting the initial interest of guys and going on a few dates. However, getting a man to commit to a long-term relationship is a challenge for them. I'm here to tell you in this video that the men who make these decisions are not stupid. It might try and be an extremely insightful decision. As a matter of fact, men are refusing to commit to women for 5 reasons. The first reason is your replicability. You are far too easily replaceable as a man in today's market. I dare you to ask any woman. She doesn't have to be a stunning 9 model with 500,000 followers. This woman may be a typical straightforward type. Inquire about the number of men she knows who are interested in her and would take her out on a date within the next week if given the chance. She would almost certainly be able to name at least 4 or 5 from her own hands. When he is so easily replaced, why would a man want to be in a relationship? Social media has probably contributed the most to the issue. Most ladies today have essentially a small bunch of folks in their DMs that they could begin informing and supplant their ongoing views in practically no time. A couple cannot build a strong and long-lasting relationship on this point because it does not provide a solid foundation. This is such a serious issue for a few reasons. First, there will be a huge power imbalance if 2 people are in a relationship and only one of them can be easily replaced. 2, if a couple is experiencing difficulties, the woman may be tempted to ask, "What's the point of working toward resolving the issues with my current boyfriends when I could simply find a new one in 1/10 of the time?" This idea is known as monkey branching, and it refers to situations in which a woman ends a relationship in order to trade up for a man who is worth more. Finally, you will always have to deal with the pressures of being compared to your competition, which will most of the time happen unconsciously. Hookup culture is the second factor. Before the culture of hookups, a man had to marry a woman to have access to intimacy. He had to get down on one knee and give the ultimate investment. But now all that's required is matching up with a girl on Tinder and sending a few text messages. It goes without saying that the man's attractiveness will greatly influence the likelihood of this working. The top 10 to 15% of men benefit from this. In the past, gaining access to intimacy was one of a man's primary motivations for entering a relationship. Men will likely stop looking for relationships and take the easiest route if this is no longer required. I'd also like to point out that women almost always refer to one of these top 10 to 15% guys when they talk about men refusing to commit. Number 3. Competition from other options that can please men. It is unquestionably simpler for men to fulfill their desires in ways that have nothing to do with dating. Production and consumption of explicit content spending are at an all-time high. A YouTube dating coach conducted a survey and found that 23% of men had never approached a woman in their lives. This is likely due, at least in part, to the fact that many men are preoccupied with alternative means of satisfying their desires. The no-fap community frequently makes the case that it encourages you to approach women because, without it, you wouldn't feel as motivated to try because you can easily obtain a less authentic version of the real thing by watching online material. If a man wanted to satisfy his desires 50 years ago, he had no choice but to step outside of their comfort zone and approach women with the intention of a relationship. Today, however, a man has a variety of alternatives, such as webcams and online content. In platforms like OnlyFans, you can even pay for fictitious relationships. The argument is absurd, but only when you consider how widespread these industries are and how many guys currently use them as relationship substitutes do you realize that it is not absurd. These platforms are a direct competitor to traditional relationships because many average to below average guys are finding solace in engaging with them, regardless of whether they are being used in a healthy manner. The fourth reason is lower quality women. Over the past 50 years, the average number of women with many partners has increased dramatically. When we consider the repercussions of this, we observe a decline in the quality of relationships. Marriage satisfaction decreases as men and women have more partners. This only applies to marriage, but it stands to reason that this information would also apply to relationships. Would you really want to be in a relationship with a woman who has had 6 to 10 previous partners if there is only a 50% chance that she will be happy? In addition, if you knew that your partner had been with at least half a dozen guys before you, would you really want to be in a relationship? It's like you're just another chapter in the book, rather than the book itself in this position. Many guys are now choosing to date casually rather than pursue relationships because of these factors. Number 5 is that relationships can occasionally lead to entitlement. On the off chance that you have either recently been or alternately are at present seeing someone, let me know if any of these expressions ring a bell. Pay attention to me because you are supposed to be my boyfriend, so you should pay for the dates and get me something for Valentine's Day. In point of fact, the worst and most borderline manipulative stories I've heard involve a woman forcing her boyfriend to unfollow other girls from his Instagram or other social media accounts because she doesn't want him to look at them. For the men who have experienced any of these things, I guarantee that the environment would be much more relaxed and free of these demands if they weren't officially together. The point is that if you're a guy and don't start a relationship with a woman, you could be unknowingly taking a lot of stress off of yourself because you won't have as many responsibilities and expectations. The majority of the benefits remain. If you enjoyed it, please like it and share your thoughts in the comments section below.